open Wi-Fi network and the password associated to that. So you should be able to connect to that. And once you are connected there, you should be able to go to tableau.entso-E, where you would be able to log in with your credentials. Who of you does not have credentials or cannot log into the Tableau reporting server at this moment should send an email to service desk at ENTSO-E, and we will try to expedite the process of gaining those credentials. Furthermore, this presentation that I'm showing on the screen is available for download. So if you want to scroll along yourself, you can do that. I will be showing on the screen as well the reports in parallel to this presentation. So it might be a good idea that if you want to note down that you have it also in PDF format yourself. Parallel to this presentation, there is also a guide developed. The guide is written around 30-page documentation on the reports describing each functionality in detail. That guide is can be useful now or anywhere during the future whenever you feel like you have questions or things are not 100% clear related to the reports, then you can refer to that guide. And yes, please feel free to interrupt me whenever you have questions or whenever you feel that I am skipping something, because most probably if you have questions, some other people in the room have it as well. So the best is if I don't rush ahead.
Thomas, can I, when you click in your credentials, then it gives you, it tells you to select a site, either default transparency platform. We go on the transparency platform, right? Oh, you go on default. It gives you this.
Yeah.
Default.
Default. Okay.
You can change it later on if you want, but
Thank you.
use default.
Maybe ask if someone occurs any problems to connect now. If everyone is reaching.
Now I do realize that some of you already have a ticket pending with service desk. Can you maybe send a reminder to again, just repeating that this is urgent now and we do need those credentials if you already have a ticket with service desk and they have not been fulfilled yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and normally this login, if you are, it should be your first letter of your first name tied together with your last name. So in my case, it would be Tibor, but and then the password is what your password you are using to the extranet, so it's just shared directory for all ENTSO-E online resources.
Thomas, what happens if there's somebody really new who doesn't even have the credentials for extranets?
So it's still a service desk ticket.
Okay, right, okay.
Yeah. Okay, so I think I will continue. I will maybe before the first laboratories or the first times when I will actually talk to the reports, make an assessment in the room who could connect it, who couldn't. So until then, maybe try to connect to the internet and to that site as well. So integrated reporting. Integrated reporting, as it was really nicely introduced by Chris, is and it's continued to be a big part of the transparency improvements. And it is built on a platform, a solution called Tableau. This Tableau permits that you create your own views and create interactive reports based on your perspective. It lets you examine the data, it lets you deep dive into what are the exact root causes, and it makes it in a really familiar way as you will see it, that it will be really easy for all of you to use and to intuitively navigate through the reports. In parallel to this Tableau online platform, we also do an email dissemination of the reports where weekly you receive emails about a perspective designed for your organization. So a view filtered to you as a data provider on how you did on all of those reports. What you will see on Tableau are interactive charts that basically display a lot of data and try to aggregate and try to make it as easy to understand as possible. But you will also be able to export the data driving those reports. You will be able to do that into PDF images or Excel format, so you can further send it along or base other reports on it. Tableau also enables to save customized views. So if you apply a set of filters that you will use in the future, then you can save it just for yourself, and then whenever you open up that report, you can configure it. That this is the view that I want to see. It also lets you create custom alerts, and yes, and there is controlled access, so not everybody sees the same data, meaning that there is some access level control on some of the data that we share. How are these reports created? They are tied to a database engine. This database engine is not directly the transparency platform backend. What does that mean? It means that on the plus side, it is not loading the transparency platform backend. On the bad side, it means that there is a refresh schedule. So it's not completely real time. What you see on the transparency backend, it will take some time until it shows up on the Tableau reports. And this is not a big time. It's around a day for most of the reports. Every day, most of the reports are refreshed. But still, sometimes when something is fishy, it might be because the database driving the reports is not completely up to speed to what is actually happening on the transparency platform. And this is especially true for the most recent data that you see on the reports, meaning that the day that you are seeing it, sometimes it's not fully representative of that. And this would be a general introduction for Tableau, so I would actually go ahead and start presenting the first report. There will be several reports presented along today, and for all of those reports, I will try to stick to the same structure. I will talk a little bit about using the presentation, about the background and how we ended up with that report, and then I will actually show it and do a show and tell session where I walk through the report, the main functionalities of the report, try to explain all of the different graphs, labels, and notions that we use there. And then, of course, there is a Q&A session, so if you have questions, then I can return to specific cases or specificalities of all those reports. And then at the end, there will be in this presentation, there are a couple of tasks that are recommended for you to do. So you can actually firsthand experience some use cases and how you will be using these reports if you choose to do afterwards this training. After this report, we will have, I think, a coffee break. And then, so basically after each two reports, there will be a break where we can a little bit more refresh. There will be a dedicated Q&A session. However, if you think that I am not clear about what I try to say, please flag it and I will try to elaborate on it. Okay, so data completeness. Data completeness was the first report that was developed for the transparency backend. And it relies on a function of the transparency platform that was already developed a couple of years back. If you are a long-term user of the transparency platform, I do imagine that you already heard about data item monitoring, which is available through administrative steps. So basically all of you, once you're logged into the transparency platform. What this data item monitoring does is logs on a per value basis what is expected by the platform. How he does that is based on the configuration of the platform. And once it logs each single entry into this data item monitoring, it tries to follow the status of that entry. What do I mean by that? So each entry here represents a value that you would see on the transparency platform front end, for example, a simple load value or a simple generation value. And what this data item monitoring logs is if this value was delivered or not, And it does it in a little bit more complex way because it also tries to monitor if it was rejected. So if you tried actually to deliver it, but the platform rejected it for some reason, or if it was delivered uh, after the deadline. So that means that even if the update happened to that, the data item monitoring, you will see a different status that says that we have the data, but it was also updated after the gate closing time for that particular data item. There are four states, as I mentioned, these four states basically on the data item monitoring. There is complete and correct, there is complete and correct after the deadline, there is rejected data, and there is missing data. What generates an entry into the data item monitoring is basically a rolling gate closure of what is configured in the configuration matrix or in the allocation calendar. What does that mean? It means that we expect the data on the gate closing date, and that data will show up as missing in the data item monitoring on the gate closing time. What is expected is based on your request to the transparency platform administrator, what you are configured to provide. So 100% completeness in the data item monitoring means nothing else but that you are providing what you are configured to provide on the transparency platform backend. It does not mean that you are providing everything that you should based on regulation. So basically the benchmark we use is just that what you asked us to configure you as a data provider. Or based on the allocation calendar, which means that how many allocation instances you created, all of them will have some expected values that the platform is expecting from you to deliver. As I said, this data item monitoring was available, and I will demo it in a little bit on the transparency platform. However, it has certain drawbacks. It's not the most friendliest. What the main drawbacks are that there is absolutely no quantification in percentages of how well you are doing. So there is aggregate of the status on a daily basis or on a monthly and yearly basis, but all you can see that yes, there are some missing values for that particular month or for a particular year. You don't see if it's 99.9 the percentage of completeness or it's 0.2. There is also not availability to define custom intervals in the data item monitoring, so you can basically say that I'm always interested in just the past 10 days for completeness, and only you have access to that, so you cannot export a list of the data item monitoring easily and share that with your co-workers or with the people supporting on your side the transparency platform. Which all of these three big drawbacks will be addressed by the Tableau report and are addressed by the Tableau reports. So what is a data completeness report? It's basically just a much nicer interface to the data item monitoring. It still uses the basic principle of the data item monitoring for the transparency platform, meaning that it tries to quantify based on what you are configured to provide, and it tries to quantify what has been delivered to the platform of what you are expected to deliver. However, it does this for any given interval. You will have custom options to filter for data providers, for investigate based on a particular area, if that area, completeness of the per area, per border, or per particular data item. And you have the option to customize the view for you, and for that particular set of filters you will be able to see overall percentages, so see exactly how well you done, not just if there is missing or there is no missing. So this Boolean state somehow got reduced into a range meaning the overall completeness percentage. Using this report is much easier for you to spot not only what is missing data for the past, but maybe also overall systematic errors. So for example, you may be able to spot that each and every day you are not providing an hourly value, for example. systems in general. Um, there will be multiple pages in this data completeness report. I'm going to show each of these pages what are the function, what are the design, what are the particular use cases that they try to fulfill. And based on that, you will be able to use that. Now, I will be showing this data completeness report now on my screen. If you want, you can follow along on your computer as well. You should be able to connect. Yes, so maybe just a raise of hands. How many of you is able now to open up this particular report? So it can connect to the internet, Tableau, and can see this particular report on their screen.
This particular
report, yes. So the data complete.
Data completeness.
Yeah, data completeness report. So
Data completeness.
so you would see something like this, which says data completeness report. And once you click on it, data provider overview is the name of the first screen.
Are you sure we're supposed to click into different?
Maybe try the other one as well.
So what do we do? We go on views.
Yes, from views you will need to select the first view, that is the data provider overview. Okay, maybe let's, I maybe rushed into it. So once you log into Tableau, you will see what Tableau is calling projects. In the projects, you will have to choose a project that is called reports. Based on your access rights, you will most probably see only this project on here. So in this reports project, now you will see all the different types of reports that we are going to discuss today. And the third one on the list is one called data completeness report. This is the oldest one, and this is where we begin today. Once you click on the data completeness report, it will show the views inside that report, and it has 4 views, and I will start with the first one, which is the data provider overview. What you can see currently on my screen, it's still loading, but it should be a big tabular format listing data providers, articles, and overall percentage rates. I'm really hoping that we didn't kill the Tableau server.
I open it, actually, it's okay.
So let's check again, raise of hands who can connect. Okay, much better, I think. It's increasing. Okay, this is the first view of the report, which is called the data provider overview. What you see, let's try it. Let's start from the beginning. This is a web interface driven by Tableau. What you see on the top side of the screen is a search bar. In this search bar, you can search for reports. So the name of the reports, you could have written there that completeness, and it will pop up the data completeness report. So it's a good way to navigate around. On the right side, you have the familiar menu icons. You have a notification bar where you can configure custom alerts for yourself. And then you have some user settings, which is basically synchronized to ENTSO-E, so you will not have to care about that. But you will have the ability to configure maybe your name better or your position or so on. And just below that, you will have a toolkit, a toolbar. Uh, on on this toolbar, on the right side, you will have the name of the view, alerts, and a download option, download key. All three of these I will talk about, and then you also have a full screen button. If you push this full screen button, then it hides the useless stuff on the top, so you can see it full screen, just the report itself. Okay. On this, Tableau is based on views. A view means simply that this is a screen that I am seeing. So it's a set of filters configured and a dashboard. Every user can save views and can create views. So, for example, if you have a set of filters and you are that you know that you will come back later on, for example, the last year's completeness, then you can save that for yourself or as a public view. If you save it as a public view, then everybody who sees that report can navigate to that view as well and start from there. If you save it as a private view, then only you will be able to look at it. Now let's get into the details of this particular report. What you see here, it has a header where you can configure different filters, and then it has a body, which is a long list of data items and combination of data items with providers.
Sorry.
Yes, please.
We are experiencing unexpected error occurred. If you continue to receive this, please contact your Tableau server. Session ID, Tableau server encountered an error while working with this worksheet. Would you like to reset the view? Yes or no? And if you do yes or no, regardless, it will pop up again.
This is unexpected for me as well. So what I would recommend is maybe try to refresh it. I do imagine that that server is under a bit of a load.
More people are getting it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Each error.
Yeah.
I don't make errors. Each error is unexpected.
I got the same error. Remember, I showed you. I got the same error.
That's when you refresh it.
Yes, refresh.
Yeah, so the report tries to crush a really big number of records and visualize it real time, so it's actually quite heavy on the server side when you try to navigate from A to B. And I do imagine that all of us trying to do the same thing together might be reaching some of the limitations of that server, causing some unexpected behavior. So what you can do, you can follow along maybe the screen how I present it. And
Sorry, you just have to log in again. And now it's working.
yeah, so yeah, try maybe help each other if you have things like this workarounds. Okay, let's get back to business. So the data provider overview provides a first view of what is missing and what is received. Down there you see a column. In this column you see two important. Okay, now I get the same error as well.
Should we first show it on your screen and then get the user to connect?
I think you got a strange look.
Log in again. from the beginning. For me, it worked.
Not much.
I have also
Yeah,
they said no. Yeah, if it's not open, yes.
Present the reports first. Yeah. Then later. Yeah. You present it first, then later they can present it if they can see it nice.
Okay. For lack of a better option, I will present it, and then you will have the option to play with it yourself. Okay. So let's try to use a little bit that server for now while I present. A big table. This big table is showing, first of all, leftmost column quantified by data provider, inside the data provider by data item, and inside the data item for a particular combination of areas. What is the number of received values and what is the number of missing values? Now, in the top, you find a really good set of filters, so you can investigate for a really short period. If you investigate for a shorter period, the report is faster, as normally this would be. Just to give a sense of magnitude, there are around 300 million monitored values currently for the transparency platform, actually well over 300 million, 350 around. And on this report, out of these 350 million records, we try to make a sense and we try to quantify that into different categories. And yes, this is quite intensive on the server side. However, when you see this data provider overview, what you can see, what I would recommend you do, the first thing is on this data provider checkbox on the left side, you check in your organization. You are most probably only interested in the completeness of the data that you also are supposed to provide. So the easiest way to do that is what you are the data provider for. Then there is the time slot, which I generally recommend to reduce it to a normal period. So, for example, a week or anything that you find representative. And once you reduce that to, for example, a week, you can see for that particular week what are the missing values and what are the received values. What you can see from this table is that there are items which are completely white. If it's completely white, that means that there is everything provided. But there are, for example, items which for that particular area there is one missing and 62 provided, which means that there is something fishy happened there. What this overview is really good is to spot systematic errors. So for example, if for all the areas for that particular data item you had a problem during the day, that's a really good indication that you probably had some IT problems or something happened that particular day, that particular data item.
Is there for this report a scroll down possibility to click to the items that are missing or that have problems?
Yes. So we'll get into the details. This is just the overview screen. So this is just to quantify the details.
Yeah. I pop up everywhere.
So this table is nice and all, but what you are going to do with that is, first of all, you can, contrary to the transparency platform, you will be able to download this and send it to your IT staff or send it along and see that, okay, these were the numbers for last week, please do something about. This data completeness, the good thing is that you can always correct the past. So whenever you see a red value there, it means that the platform does not have that value, but you can still provide it and this report will be updated. So there is nothing gone in the sense. What is important for this report, and I think I already discussed it in a little bit, is that it's not 100% real time. And if you scroll down to the bottom of the screen, you will see two dates there, which says report generated on and data collected on. The report generated on date is the last time your screen was refreshed, basically, but the data collected on date can lag a day or two, depending on it. And it's basically showing when was the database driving the report refreshed last time. If you are looking, for example, at today's values and they are showing up as missing, but you just provided it 10 minutes ago to the platform, that's because the backend of the report was not regenerated in the past 10 minutes, so it will still show up on this report as missing. A good indication to always check is this data collected on timestamp. However, we are not saying that this report is 100% correct, so whenever you see something that does not make sense to you, and this is generally applicable to all of the reports, please report it to us and we will investigate as well on our end, and we will try to find if there is in fact an issue or guide you to the direction how you can debug what happened to your system there. Now what you cannot see on the screen is exactly how we pointed out a couple of minutes ago. When is exactly that value missing? What is this the value that is particularly showing up here in red? For what time period is that? And the way to do that is you need to filter down for that particular value. Dial in the data item name that you are looking at. In generally, if you experience problems with the performance of the report, it's always a good idea to put more filters. Because what you might be looking at just the top two rows on that table, but the report in backend is working with all the other rows. So if you are looking at just one particular data item, filter for that particular data item. So for example, in this case, I can filter for just one data item, and then I can navigate to the next view of this report, which is the details view of the report. How you navigate in the reports, for example, on these reports you have tabs up there that you can use the tabs to navigate, but in some other reports you will see that there are actual links that you can click or values that you can click, and that is automatically taking you to a better filtered view. Now, what is this list showing? Is basically for the given interval, every single value is here represented by a rectangle. And if you see red spots in here, that means that there is no value provided for that particular item. So these details view only make sense if you have a well-defined set of filters, and for that particular set of filters, you will be able to see the exact details. But as you can see, for example, in this case for me, everything seems to be there, but in fact there are missing values. So yes, you need to improve your filtering if this is happening. And one another view that is really helpful in these cases is the articles view. That's the third view here. And what you can do in this articles view is you can again see the completeness spread out on a per value basis. So, for example, what you see there is the teal colored, blue or green, I'm not sure. Colored values are the good ones, the red ones are the missing values. If it's red, that means that that value was never received by the platform, however, you are configured as a data provider for that particular item. When you are saying that you are configured as a data provider for that particular item, it means that any number of priority you are configured. So when you scroll back to the platform and you look at the front end of the platform, then you might be able to see a value for that particular slot, but that value might have been provided by a neighboring TSO or some other priority data provider. If you are configured for the backend of the transparency platform as a data provider for a particular item, that means that we are fully expecting that to get it from you. What you can see on the screen, again, you can filter, of course, based on a particular data provider and based on a particular time interval that you are interested in. And since it's a tabular format, in this case, it's no longer the long list as it is the detail. We can only visualize on the same view what has the same resolutions. So you basically have to fix in how many columns you would like to see. This is why here you see this resolution drop down where you can select that I want to investigate, for example, the values that I'm providing with every quarter hour, every hour, or every day, or for a given time period, and then it will generate the table. And then the last view of this report is quantification based on percentages. What we can do is sometimes we are interested in how we did during this period compared to that other period, maybe in the past. So what you can do, you can select any given period here in the resolution time sliders. And for that given period, what this report will show you is percentage-wise how well you are doing on delivering those items. What this view is, for example, really good is to spot things that are 0%. If you see things that are 0%, that most probably means a wrong configuration of the transparency platform backend, something that you might have provided at once in a time and be configured for you, but you are no longer want to provide that. What is the big conclusion of this report is to look for the easy fixes, how you can improve your overall percentages. One of the easy fixes is to improve what is configured on the transparency platform backend, what we are expecting from you. I would also like to maybe
Just far away from sorry. But in case we discover that we have an incorrect configuration of the transparency backend, you can fix it retroactively or just from the time we discover forward. I mean, we have, should you be able to set remove, let's say, bidding zone from that report retroactively?
So the answer is both of them. So basically, once you fix that configuration, the report is not going to show automatically for the past. However, if it's important, we can remove old monitored values, but it's not a straightforward process for us yet. So for us, it means that somebody has to go into the database and write a script that actually trims that a little bit. But yes, it's one of the ways we are looking to improve the data item monitoring feature of the transparency platform, which basically would enable us to modify the configuration of the past. So let's say that for the past month we were expecting something from you, but now we find out that in fact you're expecting that wrongly, and for us to be able to say that, okay, we no longer expect those items. And to be able to do that easily, because right now we can do that, but it's first of all lengthy and otherwise a little bit costly process as well, because somebody has to manually fix up the database.
Okay, thanks.
we saw that for each article there can be a list of the missing dates and the missing hours exactly. Is that something that can be exported?
Yes, so yeah, the next step that I want to show is the export options for all of these reports. Because, yeah, most probably you are not the only one. You are the only one who has access to that report, but you would like to share that with somebody in your organization. So you would like to cascade that data to somebody. And you always have on each of these views this download option here on the top. Now, some views, and yes, please.
Is there a way to save the view? If you filter something?
Yes. Okay, I will point it back after the download options. So what you see on Tableau are always dashboards. And for this particular case, there is a single graph in the middle, but there will be more complex dashboards. When you click on the download button, it's important what is in your focus. So that means that you have to click first into the graph that you want to show. You have to interact with that graph, and then when you click on the download button here on the top, that is going to be the data that you are downloading. And you have many download options here. The first one is an image download. If you download an image, that is basically saving the view that you are seeing on the screen. It's nothing spectacular in that, so you can probably grab a screenshot as well, but it's the easiest way to share, especially complex views. The second one is the data. So if you click on the data, you want to download the data, this is showing you the exact tabular data, so the table driving that report on the backend. It is still loading for me, but what you will see is that although this is a really simplest view, what you see here on the top, on the back end, the data driving it is a really complex table. However, what the pro for downloading the data is that there is everything there. So you will see exact resolutions, so much more detail than what is visualized on the top of how that exactly is computed. But it's more like a little bit, if you really want to dig deep into how we got into the reports. The third option is a cross-tab option. Cross-tab option basically means that show me this report, let's download this report, the exact view that I'm seeing, but instead of the colored bars, let's say we want to see percentages. So cross-tab means that give me the data, but the already compiled data. So the exact data that I'm seeing here and visualized here. So in this case, if I download the cross-tab, it would be a little table that has two columns, says that this is the missing percentage, this is the overall percentage. Compared to the data view that was the full data that is driving the report. So there is a difference between the data download and the cross-tab download. Most of the time for your case, it's better if you download the cross-tab. It's more closer to what you're actually seeing on the screen than to download the data that is driving the report on the backend. You also have the option to download it as a PDF workbook. PDF workbook is easier to share because you can basically zoom in nothing like in an image. The text remains the text, the bars remain bars, so it all remains vectorial as we call it. And you can also download this Tableau workbook. However, you will be able to download this Tableau workbook. If you have Tableau installed on your laptop, you will be able to edit those workbooks. But for this particular workbooks, you will not be able to access the data source of the reports, meaning that you cannot do much with that Tableau workbook, other than maybe investigate how it's constructed, but you will not be able to modify it on your own, unfortunately. So this was the download options, and there was a question about views and how you can save that particular view. For example, my view is only showing between the 1st of January 2018 and the 4th of January, so it's just a 4-day period, and I want to save this view. I have this button here that says View. When I click it, I can basically name this view and give it a name, and I can say that, for example, first 4 days. And I can check this checkbox which says make it my default. If I check that, that means that next time I navigate to this view, the default set of filters for me particularly is going to be what I saved in this view. And I can also make it public. If I make it public, that means that all of you will be able to see that view as well in that list of views.
When you say all of you, do you mean
Who's logged in?
all of us logged in?
All of it. So it's completely public. There is no restriction on it. So for example, now if you are on the same slide as I am, if you click on these views, you will see that there's the original view, which is the default currently for me. There is 2 views for me, one that is called training, the other one is called first 4 days, which I just saved a minute ago. Okay. Some reports also permit commenting, so you are able to open up your comment view. In this comment view, you can put in your observations. So, and these comments are shared with the all the interactors of the particular report, so basically everyone is able to see it. I'm not sure what is the use case for this particular feature here, but in our case, but still we are able to comment if you wish. I think this concludes for now the data completeness report. What we have prepared is a couple of lab exercises, so a way for you to interact with the reports. You can try to do those, but I got the sense that we will not be able to, unfortunately, do that in parallel for 40 or 50%. However, there are a good way to go through a couple of use cases of what are the particular capabilities, of that report. If you have questions, then I'm ready now, and otherwise we can take a short coffee break.